So is this the cheapest super enduro bike money can buy? I don't know, but honestly, bear with me thinking, I think I need a bigger bike. Don't get me wrong, I was really enjoying my Trek Fuel XE, a little low-powered e-bike. The poor thing even underwent a couple of downhill races with me, and a couple of enduro races. But I ended up feeling a bit sorry for it, and I thought, well, maybe I can afford a bigger bike. I thought about a downhill bike, thought about an enduro bike, realised I wanted something on the heavier end of the spectrum, free-ridey type bike. So budget options, I thought, well, there's this Specialized Status 2 170. Was very tempted. Here in Portugal we've got low tax on complete bikes, so I think it was going to be under €2,500. Very tempted. Also thought about the Canyon Torque. Like second-hand options that were really tempting. And then I saw the Ican X17 and thought, I've got a few parts that'll actually fit that. Really not many. But yeah, I've managed to build this Ican X17 for maybe €1,000 cheaper than a Canyon Torque would have been, and €650 cheaper than a Specialized Status option would have been. And this is carbon fibre, and it's got 180mm travel. I think I've done it right.
So let's go back to how it looked when I went on the website and decided I wanted to order it. On icanbikes.com, you get to this page, Carbon Enduro Frame X17 with UDH. Got some images. Obviously, you can open up the description and you'll see, for instance, that it's got the choice of the customized paintwork, which will cost you extra. But I went for the standard paintwork, which I might talk about later. In terms of geometry, let's have a look. So I went for the medium size, which has a 457 reach. I think that's slightly generous compared to the average. The large, as you can see here, is 478. The rear centre chainstay length 445, fairly average for a 29-inch, on the long side for a 27.5 if anything. Feels good to me. The seat tube height 411 for a medium is pretty reasonable, fairly nice and compact. I'm pretty sure I could put a long dropper in there if I wanted to. So yeah, pretty happy with the geometry. As you can see here, it's compatible with a 29-inch rear wheel or a 27.5. If you go to this website, so if you go to Icanian Bikes, this same frame appears, but nice glossy finish. So I'll admit that I regret not having it painted. The matte carbon finish seems a bit too matte. It's a bit lusterless, even a tad chalky. If you look up Ican Cycling on social networks, they do some gorgeous paint jobs of their frames, but it costs a bit extra. Maybe this raw carbon will be appreciated by firms out there who want to add their own paint and logos to it and sell the frame on at a higher price. So the X17 frame cost me €795, including postage, PayPal fees and customs fees, which would have been $715 plus shipping if you're able to avoid the PayPal fees.
Looks like it's well wrapped up.
So here it is. I ordered it on the 25th of November. It arrived on the 23rd of December, nearly a month later.
So here we are. Here it is. Comes with UDH rear end. Comes with a headset as well.
Once it was in Europe, the tracking showed that it was pretty quick through customs and so on. No hassle there at all. I don't know why the website says it has a reliable BSA bottom bracket, to be honest. Mine didn't come with a bottom bracket, but I am a fan of the threaded bottom bracket shell. You can just plug an external Shimano Holotech 2 bottom bracket straight in there.
I think I know what's in here. We have the RockShox Tectum. Okay. There's a Zeb these days.
The RockShox Zeb Select Plus 180mm travel cost me €465. I've been really happy with these 501 and 520 brakes, front and rear, €157. And I decided to sacrifice the idea of getting a dropper until a later date, because I'll be fine. The type of riding I do means that just having a standard old quick release seat post collar does the job. I had seen on a forum that other X17 buyers had recommended checking the pivot bolts on the frame and applying a thread lock, Loctite type product. So I did that. I would recommend doing it well, because actually after some riding there was still one bolt that seemed to undo. However, I don't have a torque wrench, so to be honest, it was probably my fault. Correct me in the comments below if you feel I'm wrong, but with a linkage-driven single pivot like the Ican's X17, they've tried to design a progressive leverage curve so that the travel gets firmer or it resists harsh bottoming out. Because the shock isn't mounted directly on the pivot, the leverage ratio changes non-linearly throughout the travel. I ended up swapping to a nicer shock, a Fox X2, fairly soon after building up the bike, as I wasn't convinced the Deluxe was controlling the rebound well enough, especially with such long travel, and even after my legendary local suspension specialist at DPX Racing removed the travel spacer, I wondered if I was only getting 62.5mm stroke rather than a 65 like the bike is intended for. The rear derailleur was 31, the shifter was only a 5er, which I was surprised at. The stem, €18, handlebar, €34. The frame doesn't come with any chainstay protection, but an old inner tube is good enough for me. With the internal frame guides pushing the brake hoses and the gear cable through, it's just a piece of cake, it's amazing. On my ride since then, I've also found the bike to be pretty quiet. Don't go buying brake adapters if you're planning on running 200mm rotors, because 200s are what this frame is designed for. I went for 165mm cranks.
Just a quick shot to show you the clearance with a 2.6 Magic Mary 27.5-inch tyre on. So some people run this frame with a 29-inch rear, but as I'm on the short side, this is far better for me.
I popped to a local shop to get a bottom bracket and to finish off my brakes. That's an easy, quick job with the right tools. So a grand total of €1,845. I measured the vertical travel with the Deluxe shock on, and I'm confident that with a proper 65mm stroke shock, there will be 180mm travel available. My choice of going for a 30-tooth chainring may make the bike pedal slightly better than it would do with a more common 32-tooth chainring. I wondered if I would feel a lot of pedal kickback, but I don't seem to. Hopefully someone will teach me in the comments below how to test the frame for pedal kickback more accurately. But take a look at this. To me, it doesn't look like there's much chain growth as the suspension moves through the travel. You tell me, am I right in thinking that's why I don't feel the pedal kickback? I expected to run into more issues building it up. I've seen videos of people who have built up bikes having bought a load of AliExpress products, but it was all straightforward for me in the build. So as you can see, I've gone for a value-oriented, fairly burly build with a bit of enduro and even downhill racing in mind, although I don't intend to get on any podiums. So my first impressions after building it up were that it looked solid, well built, if anything overbuilt actually, a few rides in, and I'd say that was a fair judgment.
I didn't really expect to want to do long days on it, and I haven't done it yet, but I think it would cope. I think it would be fine on a pretty long day out, climbing at a steady pace. It really seems to accelerate better than I expected it to. See me climbing with the climb switch on the Deluxe, locks out, and honestly don't notice the bobbing at all. Let's see, this is the shock not locked out. Let's see if it bobs much. So yeah, I feel pretty comfortable climbing. If anything, a little bit less sluggish than the 2019 Canyon Torque CF carbon fibre one I used to have. And definitely way better than the Trek Fuel XE with the motor off, which I have been known to ride.
After a couple of months and realising that I would use the X17 to enter a few races, I decided to swap some parts over from my other bike, so I ended up with this, including a nicer rear wheel and a Fox X2 shock. If you're buying this frame for enduro purposes, I guess I'd recommend something with a decent climb switch, because look, this is a shot of it bobbing a fair bit with the climb switch on, and in this shot you can see it bobbing quite a lot, as with it off.
And now that I've ridden it a bit more, I'd say that if you're going to be doing a fair bit of steep climbing on it, maybe the seat angle would ideally be a little bit steeper.
Anyway, I'm sure you don't only want to hear about how the X17 climbs. So to begin with, I just took it out for a little play with my son. It felt as I expected, really. Longer travel than other bikes I've ridden in recent years, anyway. It feels fine, dropping to flat, going upstairs, downstairs, and so on. And let's talk about the ride feel on actual mountain bike trails. Well, it feels stiff. I don't mean uncomfortable. I just mean solid, composed. It leans over in corners well, and it doesn't do anything unpredictable doing that, leaning it over. As I mentioned when looking at the specifications, its reach is a tad longer than other mediums I've had in the past, but I wanted that length and stability. If you want to know how it feels jumping, I'm not feeling like super confident jumping on this bike. I don't think I've got fully used to it in the air yet. It feels okay. I feel like I have been on bikes that have made me even happier in the air. But to be honest with you, I think I'm going to blame myself more than the bike. On tracks like these, where you're hitting fun corners regularly, it just weaves in and out well. It feels totally comfortable, leant over. And as it's not super slack, I feel it's just lovely and neutral on these medium speed corners, even on the tight ones. And then exiting the corners, it gets back up to speed quickly. So that pedal-friendly nature helps on certain descents, as well as on the more obvious pedally sections and climbs. We actually had one of the nastiest couple of months of weather Portugal had seen in decades soon after I built the bike up, so I didn't get out as much as I'd wanted. I haven't got any footage of the first race I took this bike to, a downhill race in atrociously muddy conditions. It didn't go well for me. First the wind caught me on a road gap and that made me really nervous, and then I went and shoulder barged a tree, so I wasn't riding for a few weeks after that. After a good few weeks off the bike, I did eventually get to an enduro race, and the bike coped really well. There was sort of nearly 1,300 metres of climbing, nearly 2,000 metres of descending, and over 30 kilometres distance. Really good race, really tough, rocky stages, pretty much 29 minutes of rock gardens, timed 5 stages. So I was impressed with the bike, it coped really well. Yeah, I know I deserve some hate comments. It was a pretty nice looking bike, and I've gone and ruined it by strapping on this water bottle cage. The thing is, I live in Lausanne, Portugal, and it gets pretty warm here, so there's no way I can ride without a water bottle. If only the frame had a bit more space and some water bottle bosses, but there we are. With the upgrade in shock to the Fox X2, the small bump sensitivity is better than I'm used to. It feels really plush at the rear. So let me say something about the fork. I know it's not about the frame, but I actually wish that I'd gone for something different than this Zeb Select Plus. I think that if I'd spent the same amount of money on a better used fork, it probably would have been a better decision. I've been playing around with the adjustments and settled for a sort of lowish air pressure on this Zeb. For my 72 kilo weight, I've got the compression damping as open as I can, but it still isn't absorbing things as well as I feel it should. Controlled, yes it may be, but it's a bit tiring on the hands if anything. I also saw on an online forum that a few buyers of the X17 frame have been running it with a dual crown fork. The clever headset crown race that it comes with suggests that they're fine with you doing that and running a straight non-tapered steerer, so yeah, it's an interesting prospect. A couple of rides in, I took it down a couple of the Lausanne downhill tracks. There's this step down, for instance, that I would argue feels pretty rough to hit on a trail bike. On the X17 though, I hit it without hesitating. You land it comfortably, it feels solid, in control. You get some of that bottomless feeling, and I'll be happy to describe it as confidence inspiring. It's more versatile than I had expected, but it's definitely bike park capable. Maybe you've got yourself your shorter travel daily driver, and like me, you fancied something more capable without breaking the bank.
Oh, okay. It pedals better than I thought it would, and it's a bit lighter if anything, or more livelier feeling than I thought it would be. It's not an absolute magic carpet ride, but it's pretty plush, and the fact that it's got plenty of travel is evident.
Well, I would recommend the Ican X17, and I will keep my fingers crossed that I can release some even more interesting long travel frames soon. I hope you enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching.